OCR Cognitive Psychology. First study. Kohlberg. Heinz had a wife that was terminally ill with cancer. Heinz decided to go to a chemist to see if he had anything that could help, and he did. He had a cure. Heinz came back with money, but it was only half that the chemist wanted, so he denied him. Heinz decided to go in and steal the cure for himself. This is the dilemma. Was he right to do this, or was he not? This is what inspired Kohlberg to do his study. The aim of the study was to find evidence in support of a progression through moral development. It was a longitudinal study using interviews that lasted 2 hours long. This happened every 3 years until they were 30 to 36 years old. It happened in Chicago, and the participants were 7, 10, 13, and 16 years old. The findings were that younger boys tended to perform at stages 1 and 2, with older boys at stages 3 and 4. This pattern was consistent across different cultures. Conclusions. The evidence does show stage theory. In recent studies, they show criminals committing crime for financial gain have more immature reasoning than those committing violent crimes. Debates and issues. There's free will versus determinism, nature versus nurture. With issues, there's low generalizability, androcentric, self-report, ethics, dated, and many more. Second study. Johnson. Rotter was a background study. He studied locus of control. There was external, which is when you blame an external focus, or internal, when you blame your own life and your own decisions. The second study was Hyder, who studied the attribution theory. There's situational, which is the digger didn't dig it much because the digger was bad, or dispositional, where the digger didn't dig it because the driver was lazy. The aim of the study was to examine the relationship between type of offence and the attribution offenders made about their criminal acts, and to cross-validate earlier findings of an English sample. The study uses a self-report method. They also used Johnson's 42-item blame attribution inventory to measure the attribution of blame, which was then compared to the type of crime. There were 80 participants that were divided into 3 groups: crimes of violent offences, which had 20 participants, crimes of sexual offences, which had 40 participants, and crimes of property offences, which had 20 participants. They all came from a prison in Northern Ireland. Criminals who had committed the sexual offences showed the most remorse, followed by those who had committed violent offences. Here's a table of the results. Conclusions are that Johnson compared the findings to earlier studies and found out that there was a strong consistency with them, and this suggested that there was a strong consistency with the way criminals attribute blame. Debates and issues. Free will versus determinism, social desirability, low generalizability, no control group, sample bias. Third study. Yockelson and Samenau. Cornish and Clark and Holland were the background studies. Cornish and Clark's study concluded that criminal behaviour is a result of rational thinking. They make a cost-benefit analysis to determine whether the crime is worth committing. Holland states that criminals commit crimes due to opportunity. The aim was to investigate whether criminals' cognition differs to non-criminals. There were 255 criminals. Half had pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. They had interviews, but only 30 completed all the interviews. It was a longitudinal studies of 14 years, and they used Freudian therapy. The results were that 52 different thinking errors were identified. These were put into 3 main categories: crime-related thinking errors, automatic thinking errors, and criminal thinking patterns. The conclusions are that they are in complete control of their lives, and they have a distorted self-image and deny any responsibility for their actions. Debates and issues. Free will versus determinism, no control group, social desirability, lapse generalizability, and much more.